It's not terribly apparent, but you can kind of tell that we have these shapes here where these original geometry meshes are, where the particle mesh is. So that's basically what use mesh does. Just remember that you have to watch out the number of vertices that you have assigned. We'll create a box, and we'll make it a very tall kind of box. Let's look at that, okay. And this time, we'll come back to 0. Let's actually turn on Edit on the Fly to avoid that update problem. And we're going to go ahead and remove that first piece of geometry, and we'll pick that box instead. So now as these come out, what's going to happen is each of these boxes, each of the box vertices is being evaluated and creating the mesh there. Now the problem is that there's space in between all of these, and so you don't see a whole lot in terms of where the particle or where the MetaShape is being created. And it is quite a bit slower. So for now we're going to go ahead and say use mesh. We'll just turn it off. This will just use whatever our size value is, which is way too big right now. And let's put that back to 1. There we go, much nicer speed. And let's take a look. There's our render resolution. Now something very important that we haven't really talked about in the previous videos is there's a switch on Master Dynamic called Groups as Objects. And what this does is it takes all the particle groups, and when you enable it, now if we use the select objects, press H, you will see, we'll display, subtree is displayed, there is the all listed here. Now all is actually being defined in the scene as a max node, as a piece of geometry. All, here it is, it's a P group object. It's got a TPP group modifier on it. And you'll see that we can now add modifiers to this. So we'll go ahead and let's do a relax. You can see right away that we saw a little change there. We'll go ahead and increase the number of iterations. Let's do 5. And you can see that it's going to actually affect the particle group all, which is a MetaShape. Something else we can do, of course, is we could apply a freeform deformation modifier to it. And we can modify the all MetaShape in that way. And remember, this is all because here on Master Dynamic we have Groups as Objects turned on. It takes the particle groups and creates a max mesh node out of them in the scene. Might be easier if we illustrate this. We'll do a red, and we'll make his color red. Let's actually switch matter waves, have him emit red particles. Let's go to MetaShape and say, for now we'll just use red. You can see that freeform modifier is gone. That is because all as a group does not really exist in the scene right now. The all particle group himself has no color, no particles. The red particle group has all the particles being born into him. And of course any rule applied to all gets applied to red. But as far as where particles are, all the particles are in the red group right now. So what we can do here, now that we go and do the select objects, you can see under the all group we have the red group. We'll select him, bring up our modifier panel. Let's go ahead and again let's do a relax, kind of soften up his edges a little bit. And then let's go ahead and we'll get back into that FFD and we'll modify it in some strange ways. You can see the FFD grows to accommodate the MetaShape and where those particles are born. So Groups as Object, very powerful tool for turning TP particles into actual max mesh nodes that you can modify with any standard modifiers. The last thing that we're going to let's go ahead and turn groups as objects off. The last thing I want to point out is that MetaShape does not actually carry any mapping coordinates with it. So if you're going to use procedurals, be careful, they're probably going to be based in world space. Something else here, we've got large data optimization. If you have over 2,000 or more particles involved, you can turn this on and it will kind of evaluate a little bit faster. And of course, something else we can do is we can actually create a material, whatever it may be. Let's use a orangish color. And we'll go ahead and drop that into the material slot as an instance. And now this red particle group is going to go ahead and use that material. As we render, it has to evaluate, and our render evaluation settings are set to 1, whereas our viewport set to 2. So this resolution we see here in the render is actually twice as fine. And you can see again, of course, that orange material that we defined. Oops. Orange material being applied here. Okay, so I think that's it for MetaShape. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic.